Great.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. This is part of our social enterprise series. It is a webinar on crowdfunding and church giving, and I am thrilled to welcome our presenter today, Paul Nazareth from Canada Helps. This webinar is in partnership between the United Church of Canada's Edge Network as well as Small Business Solver. We are thrilled to be building the library of social enterprise resources to help folks who are involved in a variety of aspects of social enterprise, innovators, entrepreneurs, and to be offering webinars on topics where there's currently a bit of a gap to be felt, and hoping to provide some resources and assistance in collaboration and filling in that gap a bit. So as participants here today, you should be able to see Paul's PowerPoint at this point and hear Paul and myself. And as I mentioned a moment ago, our session is being recorded, so it can be accessed via YouTube after the fact. And we know that we have a lot of people joined in live with us today, and we're hoping to get to all of your questions and comments. So please feel free to share those in the chat box at any point during the webinar. We also know that many people will be accessing this recording after the fact. So wherever you're joining from today, whoever you are, I want to welcome you to this time. If you haven't already, if you're joining in live, please take a moment just to introduce yourself and let us know who you are and from where you're joining. So at this point, I am going to, in a moment, turn off my webcam and turn things over to Paul, who will be walking us through his presentation. And I want to take a moment to welcome our presenter today, Paul Nazareth. And Paul, I'd invite you to just start us off by sharing a bit about who you are and what brings you to this topic, and a bit of background about yourself before we launch right into it. So welcome, everyone, and welcome to you, Paul.
Sure. Thank you so much, Lynn. My background is actually about now 17 years in the fundraising sector, and my story dates back actually quite similar to the giving story of Canada Helps, and that myself, I'm a faith-based person and was very involved in my church ministry in life, but one of the challenges I always saw was in fundraising. And so, as I spent quite a lot of my youth around chocolate almonds and bake sales and clothing sales and clothing drives, as time went on, I did a lot of volunteering. And started in the fundraising sector with the Foreign Mission Society of the Catholic Church of Canada, supporting the fundraising of missionaries in our organization. From there, I went on to the Central Planned Giving Office of the University of Toronto at the tail end of Canada's first billion-dollar fundraising campaign, and I've been a planned giving specialist for these entire 17 years. From the University of Toronto, I went to the Central Office of the Catholic Archdiocese of Toronto, supporting about 230 churches in the Greater Toronto Area and 2 million donors as they engaged in church offerings, in church campaigns, but specifically working with donors in major and planned gifts, especially legacies to churches. And I spent after that about 4 years in a very unique program in the growth of Canadian giving called Donor Advised Funds in a bank. It was a very interesting program called Philanthropic Advisory Services, where we were teaching Canadians how to make foundations and high net worth donors how to give away money for tax and impact purposes. So it's been an interesting 17 years that way, and now I'm about 2 years here at Canada Helps. And Canada Helps story starts in the same place, in a church pew. In 1999, 3 students, 13, 14, and 15 years old, were actually sitting in a church pew, home for Christmas, from their universities, and they were computer engineers. And the basket was passed in front of them, and they were very young, and said, who carries cash? This was 1999. And they realized that the internet was going to be, the concept of digital payments was going to be a large part of the future of giving. And so they went back and strategized together, got a number of different major players on board across Canada, including the Canada Revenue Agency and quite a number of banks, and launched this site with the purpose of being a charity to subsidize, teach, and support the charitable process of giving. But it was all based in a church pew. We're now 16 years later as Canada Helps, being founded in the year 2000, and in those 16 years we facilitated over $650 million. And today we serve over 17,000 charities, 1/3 of them being Christian churches, and we process over $100 million in donations a year. So that's my background and as well a bit of the founding and the story of Canada Helps, that we exist as a charity to support charitable enterprises and churches and organizations who raise funds to give away all of the technology for the online giving at a subsidized rate of transactions. So today we're going to be chatting a bit about church giving and crowdfunding. And quite a number I know of different organizations on board who are fundraising are based and connected to a church. So what I'll be doing is I'll be going through some strategies both on the public side and trend side, and then sharing as well some of the ways Canada Helps can help. I wanted to kind of start at this place as well to understand that the entire charitable sector, and of course we know the economy itself is being disrupted. And so as much as organizations like hotels through Airbnb, taxis through things like Uber, and the economy itself, the way that people transact is being disrupted by organizations like Square, the charitable sector is equally undergoing this kind of disruption. And crowdfunding is changing the way that people, public, think about giving. And of course, we use the term donating, but it's not always the same thing. And so this is a big challenge for a lot of organizations, and we work with charities across Canada, and especially churches, that they find themselves in this tough spot because they think that they've got a website and that's enough. But in fact now, if we're not ready to process payments, accept donations, and transact and support all aspects of church life, of ministry, but also of community engagement, if it doesn't have that digital element, we're in danger of falling off that cliff of having too little, too late. And so the other part of this too is helping Canadians understand where they have a connection to activity and to their charitable engagements, and as well their values that they want to give to, that they have the ability to do that on an annual basis, on a one-time basis through annual giving and crowdfunding, and through a long-term basis through things like their asset-based giving and their bequest and legacy and estate giving, that they have that ability as opposed to the government simply taking that and allocating it as they see fit. We're also in an era where transparency, accountability is important, and frankly, as donors do their homework, they're going to be also researching charities. And if you're going to be an organization that's crowdfunding, especially in crowdfunding, as a donor thinks of themselves as an investor, not just a congregant, but as an investor, they're going to do their homework. And so both the sector, Canada Revenue Agency, and other groups, and Canada Helps want to help those investor donors. Where do they go right now to find the data on the charity? Because of course, yes, a church may have, or an organization may have a website, but are there annual reports? Is there tax data online? It's not. And where do donors go? They go to the Canada Revenue Agency. What do they find? They find some basics on the organization, and they find all of our tax data on expenses and revenue. So one of the things that we hope to help with is to, as Canada Helps, give donors more of the information they need, the basics of the charity, the contact information in how to send them money, and then in time as well, the ability to help them do that homework when they're looking to invest, give of their assets, and in time, their estate. So the first and most basic thing that we can do for organizations, churches, and charities who are fundraising is right now, we have partnered for the past 16 years with the Canada Revenue Agency. Every church, every charity already has a page on Canada Helps. So if you're listening to this and you don't think you use Canada Helps, please know your church is already there. You've already got a page. Someone can donate to you right now. All you need to do is to access it, is to claim it, to register it, so that you can get the funds directly to you, because right now someone donates, we cut a check. But if you register, it's a bank deposit directly to you, and of course you get that donor information to thank them and engage them. So, just make sure first and foremost that you activate your page. This is an example of a church who's done it in a very basic way. All that matters is they know who you are, where you are, how to contact you, and today as well, sure they can donate through us, but we want them to go to your site to learn more, to engage with you. We are the most search engine optimized charity in all of Canada through Google. So in many cases, donors who are trying to find you, if you're public, are finding you through Canada Helps.
Hey,
So when
Paul.
I talked about that homework, yep.
Sorry to interrupt. I'm just gonna interrupt for one moment. Vicky had mentioned that she was having a little trouble hearing you. Your sound is coming through
Oh,
really well for me. So Vicky, and any others, if you're having any trouble hearing Paul, you might just want to try and adjust the speaker volume on your device. I have Paul's sound coming through nice and loudly from my end, and it's sounding good here, Paul. So just keep on doing what you're doing. But for
Great.
others who might be having trouble hearing, please just adjust the speaker volume and let me know if you still have issues with that. Okay, sorry to interrupt there, Paul.
No problem. So the next step of what we're doing, it's an evolution for even Canada Helps, is that we've launched these pages called impact pages. Again, every charity has access to them. Is the ability to say, what are the outcomes that you are having in your community? How does the charity operate? And then our next step is in time will be that we are pulling in the Canada Revenue Agency tax data so that a donor can do their homework, learn about over and above your expenses and revenue and tax data, what you're doing, how you do it, and if they want to give, they can donate through the site right to you in terms of cash. And we'll talk about soon as well how they can give to campaigns of assets. So online giving and crowdfunding, we know, unstoppable, is happening, is growing every single year. Right now, it's on the top end, almost 10% of a lot of charities' revenue. We know that people are interacting online every single day, especially in Canada. We've got the stats to show that it is a growing way of giving in all institutions, especially churches. And of course, I'll talk about one of the times in the strategy that that happens. The single biggest thing, if you're raising money as part of a campaign for a church or as part of a crowdfunding initiative, is making sure that you're not just using our Canada Helps services, but we now have more advanced programs. And again, we're a charity. We exist to give away the technology. There is no cost for this. No cost to sign up, no cost to use. It's only when a donation comes through that there is the basic one-time all-in cost of 3.5%. That covers, and it's important to know, it covers the most amount of ways to make a donation in all of Canada, even against a lot of the for-profit companies. We have Visa, MasterCard, American Express. We have PayPal, which is the #1 way now people under 30 are transaction. And we have Interact Debit, which is the #1 way that people who are giving $1,000 or more are giving. And so we have all of those payment vehicles, and we have a donation form that can live in your website. Right on your website. They're not clicking a button and going to CanadaHelps.org. It's all on your site. Quite a number of the Edge social finance groups and social entrepreneur groups are creating their own websites. Even though they're connected primarily to a church or charity, this is one of the things you need to know, that you have the ability to make a mobile optimized donation form embedded in whatever website you're using, and you have an unlimited amount of those links at no cost. So that's a really big one if you're looking to fundraise, to empower and make sure that you have the ability to raise the dollars. In terms of strategy, it's really important to focus on the growth of things like peer-to-peer. For quite a number of church campaigns, we're speaking with people that are raising money for internal ministry reasons, for external community engagement fundraising, outreach programs, etc., to understand that people giving to people peer-to-peer is one of the biggest ways that new donors will come through your doors. The market in Canada now, and this was 2015 data that we had, is now over $1.4 billion tied to crowdfunding and peer-to-peer giving. The challenge is that very little of that is within the charitable system, because donors and the public, they naturally go to the very flashy sites like GoFundMe and Kickstarter and those other crowdfunding sites. The challenge is those are all for-profit enterprises that take a minimum of 10 to 20% of the donation. They don't disclose that in the way that they fundraise, and of course they don't say that the money is not going to a charity, it's going to the individual who's then expected, and there's no accountability, to give the money to that charity. So that's a really important piece when we look at how this is growing. And this is what Canada Helps has done for the past 10 years and is really increasing how we do it. And that we have a platform at CanadaHelps.org called Fundraise, where donors come on, and we had over 400 United Church communities engage in this past year for their Syrian refugee sponsorship. So they came on, they made a fundraising page that they controlled with visuals and thermometers and video all embedded in there, and they raised funds, they got the donor data, and every donation was instantly tax receipted by Canada Helps. So if you're doing crowdfunding, and again, for those organizations that are doing crowdfunding tied to campaigns, This is an area where we have this button, fundraise now instead of donate now, that you can put on your site to empower people to fundraise for you. Join us in this campaign to do X. They click the button, up pops a blank page, the donor fills out the page, and now they have something they can push out through email, through Facebook, through different types of social media to raise funds. And again, the only cost to the donor is the processing cost that we talked about. All of the donations are tax receipted, all of the donor data is going to the charity, and they know they've got this conduit to accept donations, and again, with more payment platforms than any other program in Canada. We're talking to quite a number of different church groups that are now doing campaigns tied to capital. I was talking just yesterday to a church that's looking to build a kitchen for their outreach program. These kind of campaigns are 5- and 6-figure campaigns. Crowdfunding, in a lot of ways, is about $20 donations to $1,000 donations, but this is about donations of $10,000 and up. Major gifts, as they're often called in the fundraising world. So one of the biggest areas of this kind of giving is asset-based giving, gifts of $10,000 plus. Understand as well that we see this every single day through Canada Helps because of things like Interact Debit, but one of the growth and fastest ways is donations of stocks, securities, and mutual funds. So we have a button, again, that the church or charity can put on their website that says Donate Securities, that leads the donor through a fully online, and we are the only charity or a for-profit company, none of them have this system that we do that is fully online. We still have big hospitals, universities, forcing their donors to fax forms in to their broker, etc., and ours fills it out, it gets to their broker, they facilitate the donation, we do all the work, we receive the stocks, we receipt the donor, we sell the stocks, and we just put the cash in the account of the church or charity. This is a really powerful program. It is driving millions of dollars in donations. If you haven't seen, we've got some content online for you and the donor, so your organization can cut and paste it to explain the gift, talk about how to do it, and then lead them down the path. And it's really important to know that securities are a big donating source because the donor has an extra capital gains elimination, meaning they're going to pay less tax on that donation. So it's why donors at the $10,000 level plus want to have this. A lot of churches and charities don't do it because it requires opening up a brokerage account, a lot of work, whereas again, this is what Canada Helps as a charity exists to do, is to support, subsidize the process by using these programs that we've built. For a lot of teams that are thinking about church fundraising, one of the biggest challenges for them is how to evolve how they do that. And right now, when we look at how organizations are doing that across the country, I was just at a wonderful gathering of clergy and church staff talking about giving strategy. We see still that things are basket focused. And if there is a new cutting edge technology to the growth of giving, it's still in paper and envelopes. There's a growth in PAR or pre-authorized giving. And in very few cases do we have the capacity, and this is where we partner with wonderful teams like the United Church of Canada Foundation as they're helping donors to give in the major and strategic and planned area. But it's important to understand we have two massive transactors of dollars disrupting this system, one being online giving and the other being non-donation transactions. And that is things like people who are selling tickets to an event. That's not a donation. That's a revenue source. And so if someone wants to sell tickets to the church choir event, etc., do they have a platform to do that? And as Canada Helps, we have launched that platform. Again, now my background is church fundraising, and we work with churches right across Canada. As Canada Helps, we often talk about the importance of making sure online giving is available. But I will say, first and foremost, that we are an and, not an or. It's not that we're trying to move donors from one method to another. We're simply recognizing how people want to give and trying to serve them in the best way possible. As a church, as an individual organization, it is still the best way to focus people on pre-authorized giving. If there was an ideal breakdown, it would look more like this. And we simply need to make sure that the other conduits are supported. So again, online giving, it's never going to be more than 8 to 10% of a charity's revenue, but it's important that a conduit is open and we are supporting both online and the transactions. When is the single most important time of the year for all giving, crowdfunding, campaign fundraising, offerings? It's Christmas. We got from Stats Canada last year that we know that we're up to pre-recession levels of giving, $15 billion a year, and yet $5 billion is given in the last 5 days of the year. It's $1 billion a day. It's quite fascinating that as a fundraiser, when I talk to churches, we often say that it was a challenge for our Holy Family to find room at the inn, and yet when it comes to fundraising, most churches in Canada close their doors, their office door, on Christmas Eve, and don't open until after New Year's. And so the single biggest giving season of the year, is when people go dormant, and I can tell you, all of the secular and public charities go into overdrive. And so all we're saying is make sure during this time of year, when people are feeling empowered and generous and blessed, that if they want to give, you are there to serve and meet them where they are. That it needs to go in the church bulletin. It needs to be mentioned off of the announcements. It needs to have a sign on the office door saying, if, not we're asking, but if you would like to give, you can do that online at our website. For those of you that are doing campaign fundraising and crowdfunding, this is an area, again, where Canada Helps is striving as this charity partner to bring you new donors. So as you activate your church account and you're doing these campaigns, understand that if you put a campaign on Canada Helps, and again, I'll provide all these links, and we also have videos on YouTube, just 4 or 5 minutes on how to do it all. You launch a campaign on Canada Helps, we take that campaign with no work on your half and we put it into our Canadian Guide for Giving, which you see on the right here. And this is a searchable area where 1 million Canadians visit to look at ways to give in their communities to impact their community. And so we will share your campaign and make sure that people see it. If you're thinking about the strategy, and this is an important piece, if the strategy of fundraising, either in your churches or for campaigns or as crowdfunding, is to understand that one of the biggest demographic issues in the world of fundraising right now is understanding the highest capital owning and income earning generations in Canadian history being Generation Y, which is mid-20s to mid-30s, and our boomer community, which is age 60 plus. The highest giving community in all of Canada is aged 80 plus. They primarily give of assets, not income, and they give in ways that are tax smart, like stock securities through their bequests or estates, or they give annual cash. But it's very important to serve these generations in the way that they are thinking, but also help them understand. So for the boom generation that have the capital, have the assets, if you're doing a larger campaign where you're looking for anything over $1,000, it's important to let them know. They're being told by their university, their hospital, the Canadian Cancer Society, diabetes, etc., that they can give gifts of $1,000 online and get an instant receipt. They're told that they can give gifts of $2,000 to $5,000 in stocks, and you need to let them know that you have the capacity to receive those, and they will include you in those plans. For Generation Y, or often called millennials, people have totally underestimated this generation in that right now they are their late 20s to early 30s. They are in the highest income earning spot. But their challenge is they give often digitally because they don't use cash, and they do expect that instant tax receipt as part of the transaction. So again, more teams are having social media feeds, Facebook, etc. Just know that once you create that giving page through Canada Helps, you can share that opportunity to give of everything. Offering, building funds, the crowdfunding ability, the ability to have them empowered to fundraise for you, we have all that available. Remember a reminder too that how they contact you to give. When we support, and again, I worked in foundations, so very many times we were trying to contact a church group to say, our client is your congregant, is your donor, who told us to give to your campaign for your outreach program, but at the busiest time of year, how do we find you? If your contact us page looks like this on your site for the church or the charity or organization, they're not going to find you. If you have info at email addresses and numbers that don't go to people, if you have titles that people can't understand who is in charge of giving and accepting money, They cannot give you anything more than what they can do online, which is often a limit of 3 to 4 figures for most people. And yes, 5 and 6 figures. We are doing a gift of $10,000 to a church at Canada Helps every single day, but yet they should have direct contact with you, because when people talk to you about what they want to do, they give more. We've proven this in the Canadian Association of Fundraising Professionals, gift planners, and our work with churches in the Four Cs and the United Church of Canada. They know that relationships are what drive dollars. And so it's important for people to be able to find you. For those of you that are thinking of the concept of legacies, it's really important to understand where you fit in the donor's life story. This is what, again, my training as a Christian fundraiser was led by quite a number of peers in the United Church of Canada. A gentleman by the name of Ken Ramsey started a company called Legacy Leaders that was for decades the leader in legacy fundraising in Canada and focused on the connection to the organization. So for those of you that are thinking of those higher level gifts, keep telling those stories that help people understand why and how they want to give. I like to provide resources so teams that are studying fundraising can go deeper. A really interesting book, Spirituality of Fundraising, that was collected by the works of Henry Nouwen, and actually a really interesting read, this book called Looney, which is published by United Church of Canada Press, has some very fascinating but very practical life-living strategies of stewardship and how people can give and what are the strategies of that from the donor perspective. Many of you come from church and charity teams that are now studying how do we pivot on how people give and why they give. And if you want to understand your data better, these are the areas to say who is giving and why, how are they giving and what are the trends in that change, how do people start with us in their relationship and where do they move along that donor path, when do they change from income to asset-based giving. And how are we thanking them? How are we educating them? Because it is this building of trust that allows somebody at whatever age and stage they are to give more and to be empowered to think of giving more. If it can help, we are the co-founders of Canada Helps of this national movement tied to giving, Giving Tuesday, which is on November 29th this year. And it's tied to the concept of Black Friday, when people spend, Cyber Monday, where people spend, and Giving Tuesday, where people give. Quite a number of you I see in the social fundraising area tied to the Social Innovation Challenge are trying to do public fundraising. This is a day when every major news station, every major newspaper is going to be talking about get out there and into the mix to capture public dollars, strategic days to get out there and share your story. Quite a number of you as well are involved in planned giving, looking to gifts. If you don't have a copy of this book, I'll be giving you a link to it. It is the most important book in Canada for planned giving. It's only $100 and available through the Canadian Association of Gift Planners. But it has all of the strategy, all of the marketing, and the things you can cut and paste right into bulletins. For those of you in the social finance area, we were so excited and continue to be excited to be able to give away the course that Canada Donation as a mandate. We got a for-profit educators to build a course for charities and charity staff to understand fundraising online. What are analytics in this space? How to fundraising social media? We built this course. It's a 6-hour course that you can do online on your own time that we offer, and we've got a donation to subsidize it so that it's very affordable for charity staff to take, and we are excitingly giving away these courses as prizes at the Social Innovation Challenges across Canada. So we hope maybe there's some questions in there, but this has been a good primer for you on both the strategy, structure, and how Canada Helps can help in your fundraising as a Social Innovation Challenge charity and as a church tied to the United Church community.
That is awesome, Paul. Thank you so much. So we have quite a bit of time now for any questions that folks have. I'm going to give you just a moment. We haven't had questions come up during the presentation. You've moved us through a lot really, really well and quite quickly. So I'm going to give folks just a moment to, if there's any questions that you're sitting with, things you want to know more specifically from Paul, we'll use that chat space there to talk.
And I'll jump in only because I was speaking with a church this morning who had told me an advanced question they had, which was simply how to get buttons on websites, and just to know that we really make it easy.
Mm.
For us, we've got again those YouTube tutorials. We work with many churches that have no capacity or time for this. It is as simple as going into your profile, cutting and pasting either the link for a button or the code that will create that form on your website. So there's no development, there's no IT needed. It's cut and paste. Again, we exist to bridge that technology gap for small charities across Canada.
That's fabulous. So we have a question here. What are some best practices in creating fundraising pages or crowdfunding pages?
This is where we turn. It is actually a crowdfunding association of Canada, and we participate in their national conference. The best practices are like any fundraising. It's about storytelling. It's about showing people why they feel and why they want to partner with you in your mission. So a lot of the crowdfunding sites now use things like video, and through our Canada Helps pages, absolutely, you can have a video. And again, it's not complicated or uploading. It's just cut and paste from YouTube into your giving page to help people understand why they want to give to your platform or program or organization. So again, that storytelling is very important. Visuals and video are key because we know those are things that frankly engage both on a desktop and mobile space to encourage people to connect with you, to have an emotional connection. We often talk about the struggle between the head and the heart. And when it comes to donating, the heart is what will close the deal. The heart is what will really bring people to you, but there still is also that head piece, which is it secure? Is it easy? Is it for them effective? And that's where we come in, is we give the platform to let people know that it's secure. They have all of the easy ways to give. This is why we don't have, and people always ask us, why don't you have an app? And the challenge with that is that the donor has to download it.
Mm.
And now with 15 different phones out there, this is really about pure web. So people ask us about things like text to give and social media. We just give them a very simple donation link, either the one on your site or the donation link to Canada Helps. It is fully mobile optimized for phones. And yes, you can text that link or you can even share it through social media. And it is not about one or two or three clicks to get to the giving page. It's the giving page designed for a phone instantly right there. So if you're doing a campaign, it's about emotive story, and then ease of use and efficiency towards getting the donor from decision to donation.
Awesome. So Martin's wondering. Martin says, "I assume it's compatible with WordPress," and I'm guessing, Martin, you mean particularly the Canada Helps button. And Paul, I'm wondering if you can talk about kind of different platforms and the compatibility there.
For sure. So many charities we work with are small charities across Canada, and they're using these platforms. Our donation embedded form was designed for WordPress. So the whole concept is as simple, just like cutting and pasting a YouTube video to be embedded. Our form is a cut and paste embed code that you cut from inside your profile in Canada Helps and paste on your WordPress page, and it just shows up there as an iframe, and has both that security, that top level security compliance, but makes it easy for you to put on your page.
Fabulous. And Carla's brought up a really great point, and that is that in so many churches, there are a number of different community outreach programs. And is there a way to allow people to donate to a specific program that's under the umbrella of one church, say, or one organization?
Yes, indeed. In fact, this is our biggest growth area, is that as they create these outreach programs, it's actually a slightly different stream than the traditional offering.
Mm.
In the traditional offering sense, it's congregants looking in. And now with these outreach programs, it's donors who are coming from outside. And so we allow through both these campaign pages, where the page is connected to your profile on Canada Helps. We take that campaign page and push it into our guide for giving so that members of the public who are searching in your region or area will find your outreach program and can give to it. But also we empower you with this standalone form that you can then put if you're creating an outreach page or even another website. Quite a number of churches now are creating secondary websites for these outreach programs, or different parts of their church website that is standalone for the outreach program. Well, that means then you need a button. You want a giving form just for that outreach program, and Canada Helps empowers that.
Fabulous. So that absolutely fabulous. Yeah. So Roger is asking, I think, taking us back to the part in the presentation when you talked about how every faith-based organization, for example, already has a profile and how to activate that. And Roger's question is the first step to go to the Canada Revenue Agency website to activate that, or is it right through the Canada Helps page?
It's right through CanadaHelps.org. So if you go through CanadaHelps.org, you'll see the first thing on the homepage is the search bar. Easiest thing is actually to put in your Canada Revenue Agency number into that search bar, and then it will pull up your page so you can see that it exists now. And then on that page, usually if it's unclaimed, is a gray button that says, "Are you with this charity?" Click here.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can simply register the page online, activate, own, and now you can be actively fundraising with it. It's a process that can take as little time as 3 to 6 hours in terms of our turnaround. We get it online, we flip it. The last step is to connect it to your bank account so that we can do a deposit weekly of the cash, and we're off and running.
Phenomenal. So Carla, so Roger, I was going to ask, just clarify that that was specifically what you're wondering, and you said thanks. So I'm guessing that answered your question. Wonderful. And Carla has just put in CanadaHelps.org into our chat space for anyone who is tuned in live. You can click on that right now, and it'll take you directly there. And we have another question, which is fundraising virtually is great. How do you connect this page into the physical relationship? What a great question.
Indeed, and in fact, that's where we're driving quite a bit. One of the things I neglected to mention, and I'll include that in the presentation after when we upload it online, I've mentioned our Canada Helps ticket platform, but we've launched a ticket platform that's like things like Eventbrite, eBite, etc., so that you can actually sell tickets, not just online, but right in the church lobby. Through a phone or a tablet, you can transact. No swipe machines needed. Again, you can have these tickets transact by all credit cards, PayPal, and Interact Debit. This is a revolutionary system we've launched now only 9 months ago. Hundreds of charities are using it. So one, you can sell tickets face-to-face for events, and of course someone can donate as part of that, but also really you can have something at the front desk, be a desktop, tablet, or whatever, so that anybody walking in can make an instant donation in person and receive the tax receipt instantly by email. In fact, we have quite a number of teams that as they're fundraising at events, when someone walks up, I often, when I travel the country, and I cross the country now 5 times a year, and I'll go to churches on the weekend, and someone's having an event or a fundraiser, and when someone says, "I want to give you $100, and can I get a tax receipt?" They have to take it, take down their information, get it to the office to receipt, whereas now you're only as limited as there are phones. And as we know, everybody walking around has a phone. And so it's a trust piece too, that you can show the person how to donate through their phone. Go to your church homepage, click the button. The form is nice and big. It's mobile optimized so that they're just putting in their information for the receipt. They're making the donation in a vehicle that they feel comfortable with, being again credit card or PayPal or Interact, and they get the instant receipt. This is face-to-face fundraising because they want that swipe machine. They're always asking about Square and all these other things. And the challenge for a lot of them is they're not as secure as people would like. Whereas Canada Helps through the web has that top level compliance and security, has all of those different payment platforms that they can have, and then has the instant receipt. You can do it in person. We have a ton of people now using it for face-to-face fundraising.
Fabulous. Um, so we have quite a few more questions. Meg is wondering, can the Can Helps button go up on Facebook too?
Absolutely. We actually have a widget just for Facebook. So I'll provide the link to how to create that widget. We are driving millions of dollars through Facebook. When we talk about people asking people and families giving together, Facebook is primarily where they're doing this because it's a way for someone to say, "I believe in this. If you believe in this too, here's a button." And again, the fewer clicks, the more likely they're going to give.
Great. In terms of So Carlos said, you're providing donor information. Are there any best practices once a charity receives this, especially when they don't already have a relationship to start with? So, for example, unexpected donations.
Well, people give, and again, they have sometimes the option through Canada Helps to give anonymously. Although if you create a custom form, you can remove that. But truly, the single thing, and this is a place where churches lead and have led for generations, is saying thank you. The best practices is making sure you have a system and a process to say thank you. We also know that people who are thanked give again and give more. So the biggest thing, and again, Canada Helps is a neutral partner. Although we're a charity ourselves, we exist to facilitate the donation, not engage the donor. That's for you to do as the charity. So just making sure you're downloading your data, you're thanking those donors is the way that you'll make sure, one, you're operating by best practice, but two, you're serving them. This is a stewardship exercise. Again, people are, they want to give. In a lot of cases, they want to be asked. They want to give smarter. They want to know their money's doing something. And when you empower them with that, they only ever give more.
Fabulous. Yeah, as you were saying, single most important thing is to say thank you. Susan was typing that in to the chat space at the exact same time. Say thank you. And then Susan also followed up by saying connect directly with anyone making a first donation, no matter how that donation is given. Absolutely. Vicky is wondering, is there a monthly usage fee above the transaction percentage?
I'm so glad that Vicky asked that. This is a really clear thing for us to be transparent on. This is, again, why we're a charity. We exist to provide the platform at no cost. So there's no sign-up fee, there's no annual, there's no monthly, there's no user. All of our platforms operate on simply donation transaction cost, so that when someone makes a donation, there is a fee tied to it, and it gets removed before it's sent to the charity. It is one of the lowest fees across Canada, and when you factor in the fact that we also do the tax receipt, it is the lowest fee in Canada. But there's nothing else there. It's a one-time all-in cost that includes all of the transactions, no matter what card they use. So in some cases, credit cards like Amex cost us more than we're charging the charity, but we exist as a charity to subsidize that. So we have Visa, MasterCard, Amex, we have PayPal, and Interact Debit. That's all included in our transaction costs.
That was a great question, Vicki. Thank you. So Meg has asked, how can I share this information with partner organizations that are currently using online giving with higher percent servers? And Meg, I mean, the first thing that I can offer is that today's webinar is being recorded, so you're here live, but you can share this recording, the video of this presentation with anyone. And we hope that you will. We hope that folks will share widely. The link will be up on YouTube. And as I said earlier, Paul's walked us through so succinctly and so clearly kind of the steps in using Canada Helps and what's needed to know. So you can share this presentation specifically. And Paul, are there other ways that you encourage folks to get the word out and to share the accessibility of the
Well,
platform?
we truly appreciate that, because this is our charitable purpose, to get to more charities and help them with this. You'll get my contact information as part of the presentation. Truly, this is my actual job. I'm right across Canada. I'm right in the East Coast and all the way to Vancouver in the next couple of weeks, visiting organizations. So really share our contact information, let them know they can talk to us directly, and even for yourselves. If you're doing programs, sure, we have our YouTube videos, we have a call center, but if you're doing a campaign, if you're launching something, I'm a tenured fundraiser. The organization brought me on board to do this service to charities. This is our purpose. We're here to help with the strategy, to help with the launch and structure, to help you understand which of our platforms is best to use. We're available to you to help with that. So feel free to contact us, and as you share our contact information. I'll give you other different links. We have a Canada Helps blog that updates on how charities are using it. All those things are shareable through either social media or directly with folks. And frankly, we are truly grateful if you would do that.
Phenomenal. Thanks, Paul. So I've just put Paul's email address, which is up on the current slide. I've also put it into the chat space if anyone wanted to copy and paste that directly into your email. Susan has suggested to take a look at Church OS for a great Canadian company that helps build your website. It's a fabulous suggestion. Thank you, Susan. And Martin has just said that Martin has a stewards meeting tonight, and you have made his day, Paul.
Wonderful.
Fabulous. So I don't see anyone else typing any other questions right now, but I appreciate, Paul, that you've shared your contact information and are encouraging folks to reach out directly. That's really what this webinar series is all about, building those connections, building the network, and collaborating together in our many different ways of serving purpose and mission. We do have, actually, before I let us go, Vicki has another question here, which is, what is the cost of the 6-hour training course, and how does one get signed up for it?
Sure. So I'll share as well as the presentation. There'll be a number of links in the PDF version that we share, and we'll provide a link to that course. So the course, as I mentioned, is an online course in a full kind of training platform, and we had a donation to subsidize it so that it's only $45. And again, a 6-hour course that you take on your own time. You have 3 months to do that, fully led. You can sit on a couch with a tablet, and it's a wonderful training course that has all these different modules to help with not just fundraising, but with marketing, communications, understanding the future of analytics and web optimization. That's a truly fantastic course. Our CEO was recruited from the for-profit sector to lead in this space. She was leading a very large company and has really helped us scale to the new digital age.
Vicki says, wonderful. Thank you so much. And that's awesome. Yeah. And Susan has also reminded us that the United Church of Canada's philanthropy unit is here to help as well. And Susan has provided a web address, stewardshiptoolkit.ca, to be able to connect there. Well, I want to thank you, Paul, so much for such an awesome time together. You've not only provided us with so much information, you've also left us feeling energized. I feel just excited about the information you've provided and the tools and the ability to go forward from here. So thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you to our participants who are logged in live, and to anyone who is also watching this recording. Please, as I've mentioned a number of times, feel free to share the recording. We're really working to build a library of resources of these webinars up on our YouTube page. We have a YouTube playlist that we're building. So use that, share that. Our next webinar that is scheduled is for this coming Monday, and it is on legal tips, specifically the top 10 tips for hiring a contract employee. So you can find the information for that webinar up on the United Church of Canada's EDGE website. We have a page specifically dedicated to our webinars. You can find all of the description information for that webinar, as well as how to register there, as well as a number of other upcoming webinars. So thank you all very much, and especially thank you to you, Paul. Have a really great day, and take care, everyone.